everyone, and welcome back to Pillar to Post. This is our preview show, and I am Rashaun Alleyne, joined as always by Kobia Hamblin. And Kobia, we've reached one of our first true big days of the year. It's the Coolmore Homo Championship race day, which features our Coolmore Homo Champions States and Trophy. It's a Grade 1 event, and it also, for the first time, is going to co-feature the 23rd running of the Tanglewood Stakes and Trophy, another Grade 1, and now it has some new interest as it's a win in your in for the Gold Cup.
Hey, Rashaun, and welcome everyone once again. And Rashaun, I think this was a brilliant idea. I think this is a lovely incentive also to introduce more Creoles to the Gold Cup. Unfortunately, one that I was looking forward to seeing Nostradamus facing the Trinidadians. It's not going to happen anymore. I wish all is well with the connections. I hope all is well with the horse, but we'll get to that in a bit later. Rashaun, we start the day with race number 1, the Sierra Leone Condition Race. And we welcome back Etta James, daughter of Coolmore stallion, No Nay Never, who was a winner last time out. And I think she is going to carry the majority of the betting in this race. She was a very easy winner last race. I mean, very impressive as well. Dismissed a lot of early winners. She was a lone maiden in the race at the time and absolutely annihilated these horses.
She was very impressive winning her third start. Obviously, you kind of missed it last time where she went off at 9-2 over Soleil Levant, who had all the hype, and I think deservedly so. But Edda James really, not a new dimension, but showed so much improvement in her gate speed, her professionalism, and just her overall race demeanor, where she took it to the field very early and put this race to bed. Off this performance where she won in 106 flat, you'd think that she'd want to go to the spa sprint. And with the initial noms out, she nor Soleil Levant have paid up. So we'll see if coming out of this, if either of them win and win in a certain fashion, they might be looking at the first Saturday in March. Obviously, we have to mention at that point, they took 105 and 107 pounds, so they step up to 123. But this was as impressive as it comes. And for this race, I think it's going to be more of the same. Soleil Levant's drawn to the inside now of Etta James, but I don't think it makes a difference. If this horse turns up with its performance again, Etta James, she's going to be very, very tough to beat.
I don't ever want to call it impossible to beat, but she does stand a brilliant chance in this race. If she can show me the same gate speed, I don't think Soleil Levant nor the rest of the field have much of a chance in catching this horse. As you said, she does step up weight, but she's basically level with the rest of the field besides Twinkle Toes at 108 pounds. Now, as much as that is other creditable speed, I don't think it's the same speed as Etta James, who should be taking this to the field from pillar to post once more. And I expect the same one to as their last race. Etta James into Soleil Levant and best of the rest from there.
Yeah, I agree the same way. I think Soleil Levant has a lot of class. So to be able to beat her sprinting is huge. And you probably want that one going 1,570 meters. But we're going to move on to race number 2. Speaking of 1,570 meters, it's the Augusta Rodin a lot of weights race. And this is for our local 3-year-olds. And we've got a field of 10 going to the start. And again, we've fallen in the space of this race is Oya Sprince's race to lose. It's a matter of if you want to trust her one more time, which you're going to do.
Now, in a situation like this, I don't have much of a choice other than to choose Oya Sprinces. Now, this is simply because this horse has the most experience in the race. And I think this horse has absolutely no excuse not to hand in her maiden certificate. Yes, I know this could have been said for several other starts, but why I specifically like her here is because she's now stepping back up to what, in my opinion, was her best effort. Now, although the saddle slipped forward, and I think that's the only reason this horse is still a maiden, she's not sprinting.
Is that the only reason? There's way too many losses that there's one reason why she's a maiden, but you can continue.
Just as I was saying, she's now stepping back up to where I think she had her best trip, but due to unfortunate circumstances and maybe circumstances beyond anyone else's control, she was beaten. The jockey wasn't able to give 100% effort. And coming back to this distance, I think I'd hate to see this horse lose. I don't want to call it impossible. Anything is possible in these horse races, but I don't know. Oya Sprince is almost tied to the pole for me. Another horse I have been looking at was Electra. Electra, I have on my second line. I want to see how this horse does with the introduction of blinkers and a tongue tie, because I found in her last start versus Field of Grey, she gave up a little too easily for me, especially as a pace setter. I figure catch me if you can, and if you catch me, I'm at least good enough to ransack. And this horse hit a brick wall from the time she was overtaken, and I'm that's very suspect to me. I'm not sure if this is just a bit of immaturity. Maybe this is a sign of something to show in the future. But try and gear with a green horse or an inexperienced horse is the only thing you can do. And let's see if she can at least do better than what she was before. Mine, it was a 4-horse field. She's now separate.
Yeah, we'll see. On Oya's Princess, I respect her, and this race runs through number 6, Oya's Princess. You also mentioned that it was probably her best performance, and yes, it was the shortest margin she's ever been beaten, ahead by Copper Shot. But I just think she's had so many chances, and she is destined to win one. But I'm not chasing that anymore. If she happens to jump up and win this one, I won't be burned because I won't leave her out. But I'm not so
She's been
sure
beaten
that
by
I
maidens.
want her.
She's been beaten by first
Yeah,
time starters several times. So I'm not upset with you.
no matter who she faces, she jumps out. And then I want nothing to do with Electra. Again, well bred, fantastic looking filly. I just think I haven't seen her do it on race day. So I don't want anything with her. I have to see some improvement. Again, we add equipment and that's great, but talent wise, I haven't been able to see that just yet. So I'm going to take the wait and see approach with Electra, who's surrounded with a lot of hype. So I wouldn't be surprised where she starts to get good really quickly, but I will take the wait and see approach. And then I'm going against Oyas Princess. So as I look through this race, it's like, who do I want? There's obviously the alarm that Jalon Samuel is riding. So you look at Masalito, who ran second to Field of Grey,
And I see
Undeniable,
you
who was
looking
third
at
in that
Mazzolino.
spot. Right. So I'm thinking, who do I want in this spot? And I go with Cotton Real, who's making his second start, just because I don't necessarily love the race with Field of Grey. Mazzolito, and if you watch that, Undeniable, someone had to be second. And Mazzolito wasn't super impressive finishing second. But looking at Cotton Real's first start, he is the son of Dashing David and Island Cotton. So he wants to stretch out to 1,570 meters. And he was just so green in this race. He completely was lost, had no idea what he was doing. You see him bolting to the outside rail, then he's running back on the inside. The rider's switching the whip to each hand, trying to get this horse to stay on a straight course, whether that's horse or rider who's making them deviate from this course. In the stretch, he's also all over the place, but he is making up ground, and he's ultimately going to finish a lot closer than he was 3 furlongs out. And I think this is a horse that not necessarily that the light bulb will go on second time out, but he will be much better second time out. And Andrew Nunes knows how to get them ready early in their career. And I think going out to 1,570 meters, Cotton Real has a lot of upside, or a lot more upside than these horses like Oyas Princess and Mazzolito Undeniable, who have shown me who they are a little bit. So I'm going to hope that the improvement is significant enough that Cotton Real can cause the upset here. As I said, Oyas Princess for me underneath, and then Mazzolito and Undeniable, just because these are the horses that have hit the board and have shown that they have a little bit of talent. But I'm going to hope that Cotton Real can just displace them and jump all the way to the winner's circle in the second time out, stretching out to 1,570.
Well, mentioning Undeniable and someone having to run second, third, and fourth, he is on my third line. And again, as you said, the performance was not the most impressive thing in the world, but I do hope the horse took a positive out of the race and matures into something decent. And I went with Aspire as my fourth line. I can't say best of the rest, but this horse last race was Boxing Day, 2025,
Right.
and she was heavily hampered by Copper Shot, Flying Jenny, and Ariel. So maybe if she gets a clean trip, she can at least finish the course for fourth, but that's left to be seen, Rashaun.
Race number 3 is the Justify Handicap. It goes 1,800 meters, and this one is for our 3-year-olds and older non-winners of 2. And speaking of maidens who took forever to break to win, we have Sunbeam, and I think this is going to be one of the more sure winners of on the day. Obviously, a horse that's only won once will be hard to be so confident in, but I think Sunbeam has shown some races where she's pretty confident. But you're going to go against her with a horse that beat Sunbeam to break her maiden.
I mean, how can you not expect me to? Show me the milk. In a race I highlighted, was able to get to front 9 furlongs, and Ricky Walker was able to sit down and walk the dog, and had horses like Phoenix and others toiling behind. And I expect just about the same thing to reoccur. I expect Ricky to be able to jump out, sit over, and just look back at everyone in the face. With 120 pounds, I think that's going to be no issue whatsoever for this horse. I do think that Sunbeam, as you mentioned, is respectable, but every time I see this horse run, it has a somewhere between 128 and 131 pounds, and it's so unattractive to me. It's not going to bring me to the line this time. I I'm sticking with Show Me the Mill. Under, I go with last race day's winner or last efforts winner, Night Racer, who's come into hand a little bit later than others, but is finding their feet slowly but surely. And to round off my top three, I went with horse number 6,
So yeah,
Sun. Sorry.
I'm gonna yeah, you're good. I'm gonna go Sunbeam. I'm pretty confident in her. I think though, as you mentioned, the 128 pounds is obviously a concern where, that's top end post and it's hard to distribute that weight. But I think that the horse that she has to beat is Night Racer, and she's only gonna have to give 2 pounds to her. So I think the race between these two and Sunbeam is just, in my opinion, very talented, and Bishop would be able to get this one to the line. 9 furlongs as well. She's shown an affinity for these longer distances. I think, as you
Mhm.
mentioned, Night Racer coming on, and in this replay that I'm showing, I this is the reason that I have Rush over Show Me the Milk, where you look at Rush was a maiden, obviously in this spot, with 109 pounds at the time, underneath of Kadim Mohammed. So Mohammed claims here. So if Rush is going to take 109 pounds to post again at the 9 furlongs, a trick that he has shown that he likes, I think this one will be able to sneak in there for a third place. Unfortunately, got pulled out immediately last time. But so you could kind of say that Rush won his last race. So when horses start to win, like Night Racer and Rush, maybe that's when they start to figure out and they start to get a little bit better. So I'm going to go on Sunbeam because I just think she's better than this field.
Mhm.
Night Racer and Rush to round out the Justify handicap for me.
I want to mention something. Now, you said that these horses do show a bit of talent or a bit of ability, but my issue is this is specifically with horses like Sunbeam, maybe even Luscious. I could add into this conversation. I find
Right.
these horses show so much, but I'm just not getting what I needed. So I lack confidence in them, unfortunately, and I think that's where I stand with Sunbeam. I think this horse is good. This horse is a half to Hurricane Triple Crown winner,
She
and
is.
I can see it being there, but I'm not getting the results I need to see, and I absolutely lack it when it comes to this horse.
No, I feel that that's very fair. Again, like the conversation with Oyas Princess, you've been tried and tested and you've failed a lot of times. So you're going
Trust me.
to not have that support. But we'll see how this one goes. I think this is a race that she is primed to win. But again, I wouldn't talk anyone off the others.
So, Rashaun, I'm going to speed down to halfway down the race day. And we're now at race number 4, the City of Troy handicap. This race goes 5.5 for 4-year-olds and older, going 55 and below. When I look through this diverse field of 10, I am seeing a ball of speed coming from the center. I'm seeing horses like Jericho, Leah, What a Weekend, Social Circle, even Ollivander coming from the wide outside. But I am going to start with a closer, and that in horse number 9 with the apprentice claim of Mr. Blackett, Binary Code. Now, if I look back to one of Binary Code's last efforts, if I remember correctly, it is Boxing Day with Tashawn Hazelwood. This
Right.
horse had every shot coming to the top of the lanes, tracking another horse in this race, in that of Leah. And as this swung for home, I thought this horse was a clear winner. Now, he wasn't able to accelerate past the field, but let's be real, Leah had an uncontested lead for the entire race. And what do front runners do with uncontested leads? It's hard to catch them back. Fantastic Shante ended up catching both of them mid-stretch, but considering the pace, I assume, is going to crumble, seeing that there's so much heading up front, I think Binary Code should be able to have a much stronger finish this time. To add to Binary Code, I went with horse number 6. This is on my second line, Social Circle. Social Circle, who I figure if he isn't up on the pace early with Leah and Jericho, he's going to be sitting down just behind with Binary Code, and both of them are going to punch together. On my third line, I did go with Premise. Premise was a winner last effort, but it wasn't in such a difficult field if you quite agree with me. I think this is a step up in class. And to round out my 4 is Dorcas. Dorcas, the filly, Dorcas has not placed in any race unless it has gone 5.5. I think this horse is a closing sprinter. I think she does relish a bit of a softer going, but seeing how much pace is in this race, I think it's going to play into her favor. And I think she's good enough to at least round out the top 4 and collect a check for her connections.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spend too much on Dorcas because I don't have her anywhere. But I agree. I think this race looks like it's primed for a closer to capitalize, and I'm gonna take 2 closers on top. I respect Binary Code. I'm ironically gonna take a horse that was way behind in the replay you showed with Leah and Binary Code, and I'm going to take Queen's Consort. I'm going to draw a line through that last time where she stepped up in the 60s and lower. Again, lost two horses that she reopposes. But I
Dismissed.
think, right, yeah. But I think if you look back to her race on the 6th of September, where she was able to beat Premise, ultimately Premise was best in this spot. But I really like what Queen's Consort is able to do with the pace. And I think if she can get a similar trip where she can save some ground, she will get first run on Premise, who's a lot slower than she is. I think with the weight, she's well weighted with the 124. And this is back in her class. If you look, Premises behind her, Social Circles behind her, as well as Ollie behind her. What a weekend as well behind her as well. So I just think
Half a field is in
that
this race.
this, right, exactly. She just lost to the other two, and it may be a little, it might be writings on the wall where she can beat the ones that were behind her on the 6th of September, but the ones that beat her on Boxing Day easily beat her again. But I have those two, Leah and Binary Code, but I think this race falls apart. And that is for to the undoing of Leah and Binary Code. So I'm gonna go with Queen's Consort, who beat Premise in that spot. Premise just went over to New Connections and won very impressively, beating Fantastic Justice, who I think we're going to be hearing a lot from Fantastic Justice. So that race may look good in a couple of months, or look a lot better in a couple of months. But this race is very wide open. Will the speed hold, or will the closers? And then if it is a closer, which one of the closers? I think we can agree of the speed. It's really Leah. You think Social Circle, but I think it's really Leah from the speed that you want. But we'll see. That's race number 4.
Let's start betting. Go to barbadosturfclub.org. Click betting and select mobile wagering information. To the left, click Start Betting. Enter your account and PIN to log in. Select Event. Then select the race followed by your bet type. And choose your bet amount. Select your horse or horses. When finished, click Bet, verify, and click Accept, and you're ready to win.
So we move on to race number 5. It's the Delacroix handicap, where our 70s and lower are going to compete at 1,570 meters. And if it were someone else, it would be weird that we're picking a 2-start maiden, but we both land on Mystic Rain in this spot.
And the reason for choosing Mystic Rain is I don't know, Rashaun. I can just see talent in horses. And I believe when this horse gets his act together, he is going to be such an amazing animal. Now, mind you, coming out of this race is Etta James and Soleil Levant specifically. And two of these horses immediately went on to facing older and harder company and dismissing them easily. Mystic Rain comes here and runs at Soleil Levant. But again, this horse is really green. He's all over the place. He doesn't know what he's doing. But I expect him to have matured since this race, and I expect him to not even at least go one better, but I expect him to demolish this field. I think this horse is so good.
No, I agree. I think that he has the world of talent. The weight is definitely very attractive. So 113 pounds on the allotted weights. He probably won't stray that far from that with Rashid Hughes being on board. Rashid Hughes is now his third rider in as many starts, and that's the best one he's going to get. And as you said, this horse has been very green in his 2 starts, and to be able to run so close to Soleil Levant and being so green in the stretch, I think this is a horse that's stretching out to 1,570 meters probably would be the best 3-year-old import that we have. And you so correctly said, Soleil Levant, Etta James were able to come out of that race and win, beating open company. So I think that Mystic Rain has as much talent as them, even more. So he would be very competitive in this spot and could be the one to beat. Underneath him, underneath him, I'm going to take number 2, Priceless, who last time out ran a second behind Raconteur, who's going to end up in the Tanglewood. So this is a huge drop in class. This horse runs with as high as 85 and lower. So now here in the 70s, his last starts at 70 and lower. He's been on the board twice, 2 seconds out of those 3 starts. I think he's run a lot of good races with lightweight. So the 125, I want to see how he stacks up, especially giving maybe 12, 10 pounds to Mystic Rain. Then underneath, I'm gonna go Fantastic Shantae and Luscious. Fantastic Shantae, very impressive last time out, closing to win a sprint. Stretching back out, she's in some good form, and she's a really talented filly. And then Luscious, who's stepping up in class and ran with 128 pounds last time out, again, albeit with lower. But I think this is a horse I'm very surprised to see the connections didn't nominate to the Tanglewood, given who they nominated to the Tanglewood, and we'll get into that in the next race. But think the world of Luscious, and I think she's getting better. But this is a very, very tough field to compete with. A nice appetizer for the Tanglewood, but I think Mr. Rain and then everybody else, just like you do.
I think everyone's open to their own opinion, and if you think Luscious belongs in the Tanglewood, well, so be it. um, as I look through the field, I do expect Showtime and Delicious Angel to hook up early. And I'm looking for Mystic Rain and Life is Great to fit into the pocket just behind. Life is Great is on my second line. I do agree with you on the Priceless claim, but Priceless has been a bit here and there when he's been ready. Sometimes one week he shows up and the next week he doesn't. But as of recent, I found him coming back into the form that we know him to be in. And I think Luscious is going to be good enough for fourth. Fantastic Shante did blow me away last time sprinting, but I lack confidence in this horse against a creditable field, specifically going 7.8. For some reason, 9 furlongs, this horse is really good. 5.5, she's really good. 7.8, she's a hit or miss for me.
Right. I think it's really deep. And just quickly on Luscious, it's not that I think she belongs in the Tanglewood, it's just that her connections nominated Pussycat, and I think she's a little better than Pussycat for the trip. So it's just a mention of that. But speaking of the Tanglewood, we're going to move on to race number 6. It's the 23rd running of the Grade 1 Tanglewood Stakes and Trophy. And this one was billed as Barbados versus Trinidad. We had Nostradamus flying that flag. She's not going to compete. So now it kind of just feels like it's Trinidad's race to really lose. And you believe that. You are going Trinidad 1, 2, 3.
Well, Rashaun, I always say home drums beat first, but in this instance, these drums were made in Trinidad, and I have Trinidad to round 1, 2, and 3. Now I start off with Hello World, the 2025 Tanglewood winner, and as I reflect to his last start in Barbados, which is his only start in Barbados because he Tanglewood, I found this horse. I don't know. Can I say gets a little bit bored during the race? Because I found that with about 4.5 to go, this horse was under a ride. And watching the race live on the TV, I thought he was finished. I thought he was cooked. I did not expect to see such a move. I'm not sure if that's his natural nature. I do think I watched the race in Trinidad where he picked it up really, really early and finished it as strong as can be. But I don't know. Hopefully with the pace, I expect Headliner to set. He has something to run at. But I don't think there's any losing for this horse. On my second line, I went with Princess Aruna, who was the second place horse last year. She was tossed out due to whatever the case may be. I think she is good enough to run second. Since being in Barbados, she has not run lower than second in her career. Headliner, who I think will be good enough for third. On my fourth line, it was a bit of a toss between horses like Raconteur, Mandarin Oriental, but Valiant ended up coming out on top of those options, and that's going to be the first of the local horses for me. But I think it's an absolute sweep. Trinidad 1, 2, and 3 for me.
So I'm gonna take Princess Aruna on top. I will say she has run lower than second. She was fourth in her last start, but I'm gonna draw a line completely
Yes.
through that. No, you're good. But I'm gonna draw a line completely through that. Where if you look at the replay, Hello World, as you so rightly said, was on the right from very, very early out. And again, maybe he's just, as you said, the type that needs that. Which, when you look at that, Princess Aruna's rider was not engaging her at all, and she
Mhm.
was dead last, and he was standing like he had a ton of force, which he did, but ultimately too much to do because Hello World had already gone. And I think Prince Daruna finished best of all in that race last year. Exiting that race, uh, Prince Daruna didn't do much wrong. She came back and won two subsequent starts. She missed some time. She wasn't able to put races together, and she hasn't run since December 13th, where she ran fourth. And again, I'm just gonna hope that that race we draw a line through that. She's gotten some time since that, and the good Princess Aruna, who was once the best horse in Trinidad, can be very competitive here. Now, is it going to be easy to say that Hello World is just going to lose? No, because this horse does not know what it is to lose, and I think it's just a matter of horses not necessarily repeating races that I have Princess Aruna on top of Hello World, but best believe now that Nostradamus is scratched, it becomes a lot harder to look past Hello World. I'm going to try to put a Barbadian in between the Trinidadians, and that's going to be number two, Raconteur, who honestly, not necessarily the greatest, like you would say, talent, I guess, or form. I think is the most important thing because, but I think that when I mentioned his race last time in the preview, where going into the Tanglewood, I believe that Andrew Nunes is going to get this screws tightened for this one. And if you look at his form, the Guineas he was on the board, the Midsummer he won, the Derby he was on the board, terrible form after that. But then back in the BTBA Classic, he was on the board again. So I think he winning last time out. Yes, a lot of things went his way. Where he was Ghost to Valiant, but I think this is a horse that Andrew Nunes is not going to come in here playing with. Is he going to like the 10 furlongs as much as the others? We'll see, because he did not really relish it, I guess, for the Derby. And then I'm going to go headliner, who I thought was going to be the one to really keep Nostradamus honest. He does have a lot of speed. It might be him at Dancing Prospector. But this is a horse that has been beaten once. Triple Crown winner in Trinidad. This horse has quality. Why not in this spot? Also, might be able to play spoiler if he really takes to an affinity to the Garrison, because he's also smaller than Hello World. So he might be able to zip around the trap. But I really think it's Trinidad's race to lose. I'm going to go Prince Runa over Hello World. Sneak Raconteur in there for a little bit of a local upset or exotic play, and then headliner. And I respect the Trinidadians.
That's fair enough. Rashaun, I really was hoping to see a match race up front. I was hoping to see someone take it to Nostradamus, and either she turned them back or that other person, was able to go on. I thought that horse would have been headliner. It's unfortunate what happened to her, and I don't know the stories behind the scenes, but I'm simply saying her not facing the starter on Saturday is unfortunate. I feel like I've been robbed of an amazing race, but I get to see at least a pretty good Creole race. Headliner, anytime you have a horse that's at 11, 12, 13 straight wins, I don't care who he has faced, I don't care where he has been, that
Hello
has
World.
to be a good horse.
No, he's a good horse.
You mentioned earlier Princess Aruna at one point was the best horse in Trinidad, and she came here and simply dominated. Her first start, she was so far off the pace. And I mean, her jockey was, I don't know what he was doing at the back of the field, but he was more comfortable than me. And he was able to close so much ground and almost picked up the race at the top of the stretch, nearly 10 wide.
She's a good horse. So hopefully that's the kind of trip I can get, because I really like her in this spot, drawing a line through that last start, and hopefully she'll nail the Tanglewood for me.
So we're going to move on to the other feature of the day, the Coolmore Stakes and Trophy, going 9 furlongs. Again, Rashaun, we're being robbed of a participant in this race in Anissa, but we can't dwell on that. We're going to move on to see who we have. We still have Caspian, see who can set pace. We have Jared Nipper. My winner ended up coming from Portfolio Company, the headstrong gelding from Spring Head. Now, reason being, if we go back to Boxing Day and other races this horse has always been a bit more headstrong than I think designed. I think Jared Nipper is always supposed to be the pace setter, but Portfolio has always been the one to go forward and snatch at the bit. Now, I expect there to be little to no pace in the race, if I'm being honest. And I expect Portfolio to do absolutely the same. I think it's going to be a little too slow for Smoking Tea to run onto. Smoking Tea originally was my winner, but seeing that the main contestant to keep the pace honest is gone, I think Portfolio is going to fit beautifully into this pocket.
Yeah, Smoking Tea was able to really run by Portfolio Company last time out, and I don't think pace is going to overturn those 5 lengths. I am going to take Smoking Tea. I think off the bench, he ran a very creditable race behind Public Sector. Hadn't run in 6 months, running at the mile. Now that he's got a race off the bench, going into the Coolmore at 9 furlongs, where I think he might be a little bit better. I'm not sure he's necessarily pace dependent. And who leads in this spot? I think with the new jockey on Portfolio Company, Ray Williams is going to have to go to the lead, and I think that will do really well for Portfolio Company. But I really think Smoking Tea is just better than these horses. I can't see a scenario, unless something unforeseen happens, that Smoking Tea, who was a Gold Cup favorite just a month ago, can't handle these horses. And then I'm going to take Portfolio Company. I think having Ray Williams on board from the Inferno and Anissa scratch, take it to this field. Please, I'm begging, because just he has shown for the speed. He's shown some speed. Obviously, he's not been ridden for that, but I think now is the time to just do that. kind of let Renaissance frolic, just let him go and let the others try to get to him. I really think Smoking T
Let
will
him do
do
what
that.
he wants. Let him do what he wants. Let
Exactly.
him get comfortable and
And
keep
then
him happy.
right, and then Jared the Nipper for me, this is the horse that's been ridden for speed. I hope that this is now the chance where he gets to sit and come with one run. Because then when I look through the rest of the field, if I take out Smoking Tea and Portfolio Company, Brilliant News Warbeat, Caspian Scene, and Zaid, who's come from nowhere to be in the Coolmore, I think Jared the Nipper is just in a much better form and is a better horse than they are. So I really think it's the Springhead trio for the try. Smoking Tea's is proven to be lengths better than both his stablemate, and I think this is his Coolmore.
Yeah, regardless of how it goes, I think the first two are going to be Smoking Tea and Portfolio Company. You can combine that bet and make that your forecast. On my third line, I'm not very confident in Jared Nipper. I actually did go with Warbeat, and Warbeat has been there or thereabout in his races. You know, when he stepped up against his first start was against Aries and a couple other Creoles, but when he stepped up against Jared Nipper Portfolio Company, they dismissed him and dismissed him easily. But I have faith in the Geelong train. And I do believe he's going to give him a more positive ride. You know, let's see where this takes us. Let's see, maybe get an honest depiction of where this horse belongs within the rating scale. I think he's good enough for third. No one else is catching my eye for third. This ends up being my best bet for the day, 2, 5, and 4. What do you think,
Yeah,
Rashaun?
and for me, it's going to be my best bet as well with Smoking Tea. I think a nice $25 win ticket will give anybody who's just visiting the track for the race day a nice little food after, as they say. But I'm going to take Smoking Tea as my best bet as today as well. And we're going to move on after that. We got two big races, and now we're going to just wind the card down with race number 8. It's the Home of Fairies Handicap. It's the high five race going 1,100 meters for 4-year-olds and older maidens rated 50 and below. And if this were a leg in the pick six, which it is, it ends the pick six rather. If you could go all in here, go all. If you
You
can
better go
afford
all.
to go all, go
You better go
all.
all.
Because what is this? What is this? This is so like there's so many mids in here that you are unknowns, and then we're gonna end up on the same exacta, but I'm gonna take how you do on top. You're gonna take espresso on top.
Yeah, the reason I chose Espresso over How You Do, I think it's gonna run 1-2 between the two of them. I can't see any horse beating either of them, but I took the edge on Espresso over How You Do because the last start this horse had was a 7.8, and this horse was super duper headstrong. And I always love to see the stretch out and then the cut back. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. I've also seen Rashid Hughes retains the ride on Espresso. And if this horse can give me what he gave for the first 5 furlongs, I don't see how he should be being beaten. How You Do does also show some honest pace early on, but I'm going to take it with the edge of the rider. I've watched Rashid Hughes keep positive interactions with these horses time and time again, and he has won it. Most recently, that I'm thinking of, is even won the wall. Just keeping the horse up to his pace, and I think he's going to do exactly that with Espresso. Never let him settle. I think that's how he's going to get the edge over How You Do. But let's see how it goes. As it relates to the rest of my picks, it was almost throw them in a hat and just pick up one. You know, for my third choice, I did go with horse number 18, Babik, and I simply went on Bloodline. There's absolutely no evidence to show a lot of these horses, so you know, being confident in them is pretty difficult. I went with Babik for my fourth place, horse number 9, Midnight Dust, and to round out my high five, I went with horse number 1, Valley Code.
Yeah, again, you said put him in a hat and pull one. I think that might be a safer handicapping angle than trying to look through these forms. But again, if you find a gem you like in here, definitely play. I'm gonna take Espresso as well underneath of How You Do. I think the filly does have a chance in this spot. How You Do, though, is the one that I want coming out of a very deep open company race with fantastic justice and premise. This one was also done off the bench where this horse hadn't run since May and comes back on Boxing Day to finish 6 in the 55 and lower non-winners of 2. This was a very competitive non-winners of 2. Well, none. We had premise and fantastic justice, and I just think this was a huge effort. Non-winners of 3 rather, so even harder. And I think this was huge for him to be sixth in this company, coming back here with these maidens from the inside. The claim is great. I just think this race is how you lose to lose. Then Espresso underneath with Rashid Hughes. I'm going to take number 16, Elevate, who now goes into the hands of Sean Hall. This is a horse that ran in the Derby, so she has back class. The draw just being so wide, and I think she'll be better going longer. But she is a half sister to Paper Trail, and she's no with Paper Trail's trainer Sean Hall. So I'm going to give her a look. Number 7, Indian Gold, comes out of a race behind Fantastic Shantae, also on Boxing Day. This is a race again dropping in class, so the form isn't necessarily anything to shout about with some off the board finishes, but keeping good company. And then finally, I'm going to go Poseidon, making his third start, also coming out of that race with Hollywood with Permits and Fantastic Justice. Actually, the Fantastic Justice now winners of 2 after that Poseidon is coming out of on the 3rd of January. So I think this is the 17th of January, all over the place. But I think this is going to be a very competitive maiden race. So I'm going to go 3, 4, 16, 7, and 5. And good luck to everyone in this spot because you're going to need it.
You're absolutely going to need it. And I think anyone who's able to put together a high five bet, be confident in it, and win, praise to you. I'm going to call you the horse whisperer from now to Thy Kingdom Come. But as always, from us, thank you for tuning in to Pillar to Post, and good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Again, follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube. It's the Coolmore Home of Championship race. It's going to be a great one with the Tango also co-featuring. Good luck. And as always, may all your tickets be winning ones.